Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is your boy Rico No Suave here on a 1-2-1-2, ready to go with each and every one of you guys. Oh, wait. I'm super happy to be back with everyone. And, being super happy means a lot to me. And I hope that you guys missed me as much as I missed you. And what I mean by that, it's all about how much you miss me until we get started. But I want to thank you guys so much for your support and all of your love, everyone. But we're going to get right into it because there's a lot. We got a fun, feel-packed show for you guys today. Yes. The first thing we got to talk about is what's going on with ICE. ICE, everybody. So one of the things about someone knocking at your door and knowing that there is a bill or a law that was put out by our current president, Trump, in regards to deportation of immigrants of all cultures. One of the things that bothers me about this is that there is communities that's fighting against it, as you can see. And one of the biggest things about fighting against deportation is there's two sides of this. And one of the things is that they actually will come to you and say, hey, do you have the right records? And if you don't, of course, this law is to deport you back to where you came from. So there's a lot of people, of course, that's actually in front of Trump towers that's actually protesting against this. Now, the protesting against this, as you know, we protest to be able to do it for the good, for a better America. And I'm not really big on political, but I am big in regards to human beings that does great for the world in general. So here's my thought. My thought is that I do have friends that are immigrants and I do have friends that are citizens, but they also have married as far as an immigrant or from another country and brought their loved ones over. The one thing that I'm really hurt about is we understand the concept of deportation of criminals. We understand drug dealers. We understand that people that's actually doing something bad for America. Deportation. Understand that. But what bothers me the most about this is the deportation of people that's been here for 30 plus years that's working very hard to be able to supply shelter, food, and other necessities for their family. And for them to be able to not be a citizen or even they're working on a visa is being deported. My heart goes out to one young lady that I've actually seen a video out there where her son was deported, but she was not. And she's looking for help from others to say, how can we fight this? How can we make sure that the immigrants that actually have been here for quite some time is not broken up as far as within their families? My prayers goes out to the immigrants and their families are breaking that, how this system is breaking up the families, because once they go over back to their country, you don't know what's going to happen to them when they go back to that country. They might not have family. They might not have a place to be able to stay. They might not have shelter. They might become homeless. We do not know. But I have to say is that I'm very heartbroken in regards to the people that do work really hard in restaurants, in schools, in different other careers. So my prayers goes out to what's happening as far as with ICE and the government to be able to deport the people that's actually been here for quite some time and working as hard as they can, because they are human beings as well too. And I guess making America great is something that we have to look at from both sides. And we as human beings, we make America great by being kind to each other and also to be able to support each other in a positive way. So my prayers goes out to, to the people that have been deported and also the families that's being broken up. So I do pray for you all here from the Rico No Suave show. Let's get it on. Now I have to introduce this gentleman. Okay. I have to say, I'm super happy that this gentleman is actually here with us today. And big shout out to Jeff Conway from Forbes magazine. I really look up to him now because him as a journalist, as well as a talk show, he's like, you got to have this guy on the show. And when he told me that, he said, Rico, you got to have this guy. I have to listen. And when I have to listen, it's because there's great people like Jeff Conway that's in that same circle that I'm really happy to be able to have any of the guests. But I grew also to know this gentleman here. He is a filmmaker. He is the owner of Say Her Film LLC. But I got to say this because I love this song. Say you, say her. I love this. I want you guys to put your hands together for none other than my man, Jared Kirchheimer. Let's go. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Man, welcome to the show.
I told you, man, you bring so much joy with your show.
Thank you.
And so does Jeff Conway.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just so grateful to be here with you, man. I so appreciate it.
Man, welcome aboard, man.
Thanks,
welcome
man.
to the party, man.
Thank you.
The party
It's
has
fun.
started.
It's always fun. Yeah.
The party has started. So one thing that we got to get right into it because, hey, everybody probably wants to know more about you. I want to know about you. So let's get right into it. Transitions. Yeah. When it comes to transition in life in general,
right.
You were here from Chicago.
Yeah.
Then you went to LA.
Yeah.
You went to New York, New Jersey, I should say,
Yeah.
New Jersey. There was some hard times that you went through in regards to no mattress. I'm on the floor.
Right.
I'm grinding.
Yeah.
And then you come back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Where home is.
Yeah.
Talk to us in regards to your mission, your journey, in regards to what you were trying to accomplish when you were going through the transition.
No, thanks for asking that. So, as a kid, I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I come from humble beginnings. My parents, they're both passed now. They're wonderful, wonderful people, very hardworking, but they were always really concerned about money and just trying to take care of their family. So I wanted to have a job where I could have some stability while I pursued film, because we all know it's very hard, especially coming from money, to do well in film right away. It takes time.
Yes, sir.
So I went to school for engineering, and I decided I'm going to try to do film on the side. So I started working a ton of hours on engineering jobs, and I put enough money away where I felt like, okay, I can leave now, because I was trying to do it on the side, and it's really hard to do it on the side.
Sure.
So I decided, you know what, I have enough put away from working so many hours that I'm going to try to move out to LA. After I got a little bit of theater work done here, a little bit of training here, but Chicago was limited, especially 30 years ago. Now there's a lot more stuff going on here, film and TV-wise. Yes, so I went out to LA. I had enough money to have an apartment, and I just started auditioning. And like every kid that goes out there, you think you're going to work hard night and day, and it's going to happen right away, and it doesn't always work out that way.
Sure.
So I had a good agent there. His name was Jack Scagnetti. But the auditions weren't coming, so I'd call him up every week. Jack, what's going on? I thought I'm your favorite guy now. I'm brand new face from Chicago.
Right.
And the auditions were coming too few. So I decided to make a run for New York, because I actually had a cousin who was the head producer at the early show. Yeah. So I thought maybe he could help me get an audition at Law and Order, one of the spin-offs, just because of all the connections he had. He couldn't do that, but he hooked me up. He gave me a desk to send all my resumes and make my phone calls and try to get agents. And that desk was actually Brian Gumbel's desk when he wasn't there, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so I stayed out there, and I would have stayed there for a while. I actually finally got my first speaking role in a feature film in New York. But unfortunately, the tragedy of 9/11 happened while I was out there. So I was living in New Jersey and taking the bus in every day, because it was cheaper, obviously, to live in Jersey. And on that fateful day, we got turned around at the Lincoln Tunnel, and that's such a, I'll never forget that. And I think about all the victims and their families and everybody that was affected about that to this day. I think about it all the time. Yeah. To think that we still live in a society, because there's so much goodness in this world, hence all the joy you're bringing into the world.
Thank you, sir.
To think that we're still committing those kinds of acts of terror against other human beings. It's a horrific thing. So that hit me pretty hard. I decided I didn't want to stick it out there, because the industry obviously was greatly affected by it, and I was in a lot of pain from just as a human being from having, we've all suffered that together.
Sure.
So I decided to go back to Chicago. I didn't have much money at all. I had enough to get a Greyhound bus back home. And I moved in with a Columbia Film grad, and I was able to get a short film made with him because we were roommates.
Nice.
And then I took that short film out to L.A., and again, for a second time.
Okay.
Because the first time I didn't have anything with me. I just had a resume. Now I had a film.
Okay.
So I actually worked at Sony Pictures Studios as a security guard so that I could peddle this film and try to get it to some higher-ups there.
Yeah,
and I tried really hard, and I had fun. I met a lot of people. Like every day you'd meet every new celebrity, and it was just fun to kind of be plugged in that way. And the only thing that did happen is I made a friendship with another Jared. He was actually the head of the legal department there, and he was really cool to me because he saw my name tag and we had the same name.
Nice.
So even though nobody at Sony helped me get that movie made, he introduced me to someone who was a producer, and then I had a feature that I wanted to make. So we worked on this feature for years and years, and nothing came of that one.
Okay.
So I came back to Chicago. I was completely broke. I said, you know what, I got to go back to engineering again, build up my savings, and try to do this on the side.
Yeah.
And that journey was a 20-year journey.
Wow.
So I started working again in engineering, working 70, 80 hours a week on the engineering job, writing, trying to get investors for the film. 20 years go by. You have some near misses, but nothing happens. It's development hell that they talk about all the time in the industry.
Yeah.
And I decided that it was time to go ahead and make something on my own. And I've always wanted to make a film. The first film that I wrote 30 years ago was set actually at the Mercy Home for boys and girls.
Okay.
We talk about Mercy Home in the movie. It's where the lead character that I played, Clay, grew up.
Yep.
But the film that I wrote, the film that was set at Mercy Home, that's like $1 million film. I didn't have anywhere near that amount of money to make it. And Say Her, we were able to write and shoot at one location. So we made it for a fraction of that.
Okay.
And that's how that journey went between Chicago and New York and New Jersey and LA. And finally, after 30 years, I was able to get a film made to talk about the importance of mentoring at-risk youth.
Okay.
And the big inspiration for the movie is my granddad, who grew up very poor in Germany and was abused by his dad. He ended up leaving home at 13 because they were so poor they couldn't take care of him. He moves in with a baker, gets beat up by that guy he's trying to apprentice for, and he ends up running away by himself and coming to America, the American dream that a lot of immigrants have. And I never met him because he died before I was born, but everybody that knew him said he was the most loving, good person. He was an angel. And that formula, how you could go through such hardship as a kid and become such a wonderful person, if we can bottle that formula, we can help every kid that's struggling in the inner city here that is going through living with gun violence that's known throughout the world, and a lot of other tough parts of upbringing, whether mom and dad aren't home or one parent's in jail, there's drugs going on. I wanted to find a way to bottle that formula to be able to help children. That's always been my mission in making film. So I was able to make a film here, Say Her, that talks about that. And giving back 50% of our earnings from that movie to Chicago Cred, which is doing amazing work here.
Nice.
Beating back gun violence, and Mercy Home for Boys and Girls,
right,
which we reference in the movie. They're doing such wonderful things for kids. So it's a really socially conscious.
So one thing that, I don't want everybody and their grandmother to know about Say Her yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a background in regards to how you got here with transitioning from state to state, learning about what needs to happen or what can I not do when I go to these states. Right. And knowing that you came back home to Chicago to start your journey. Now, the civil engineering piece. Right? Because I do want to talk about that because you've been a civil engineer for how many years?
30 years.
Now that's big. 30 years of dedication to that industry of civil engineering. If you can give the audience a little bit of synopsis of what is a civil engineer, right? And then also trying to balance that of
Right.
film, and like you're gonna keep the daytime job, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you also have, you know, your nighttime job or your passion of
Right.
film. How let's talk about the definition of what a civil engineer is,
Yeah.
and then also the balance of film for
That's
you.
a great question. So the reason I chose civil engineering is because even when the economy tanks,
Yeah.
they put money in public works. And because I saw my parents struggling so much, I wanted to have a steady job. So that's why I picked it, to provide the financial stability to figure out how to make this film life work. So civil engineering, you can either design roads, bridges, airports, or you can do the fun part, which for me was working on the construction sites.
Okay.
I wasn't much of a designer, but I really liked being a construction manager.
Let's go.
Super fun. I consider myself the luckiest person in the world. I worked on the Jane Byrne interchange here for 10 years, right in downtown. I worked on the Dan Ryan reconstruction years back. Just I had the coolest jobs that went 24/7. So it's really demanding. Like you get home from a long day and then the phone's ringing from the night crew because they got some issues that come up, and you're really sleep deprived. I use Sundays as my film days.
Okay.
So I worked a ton of hours, but on Sundays I didn't charge my hours just because there's not enough budget.
Sure.
So I would go in and do some work on the engineering, and then I would be off the clock and do my film stuff, whether it's writing or reaching out to investors.
Yeah.
And, I did that like 10 to 20 hours a week on top of working 70, 80 hours a week as an engineer. So it was 20 years of that.
Wow.
But I had so much drive to be in the film industry because I love it so much.
Sure.
And the frustration I had from not being able to do what I dreamt about, being a filmmaker, I put that frustration into the work to be the best engineer I could be. And I looked at it as I loved serving humanity. As a filmmaker, as an artist like you, as a host like you want to give back to humanity in
Yes,
a
sir.
good way, which you do so lovingly.
Thank you, sir.
So that's what I focused on. I focused on serving the citizens of Chicago, serving my clients, serving my coworkers, and I had a really awesome mentor who was the president of my firm that made me vice president very early. So I was vice president of the firm for many, many years because
That's awesome.
he kind of groomed me. And being of service makes me so happy. So I was able to work all those hours, even though it's hard.
Yeah.
Just feeling that core level of being able to serve people. And it also helped having the fire in the belly from not making the movies I wanted.
Yeah. I like the one thing that you have is drive.
Thank
right?
you. Yeah.
When you talk about drive, you talk about focus, you talk about patience, you talk about creativity.
Right.
You talk about when I say you talk about, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You're talking to yourself to motivate you to keep going.
Right.
Right. And I think when you have that passion, it's something to wake up and smile about, and knowing that you're going to be that vice president, knowing how you're helping people to make you smile even more, to fix things, and also dependability. People depended on you at night to call you to see if you had the answer, to be able to help people. So I think your drive of helping humanity overall is what I feel the drive is for you, and it makes the film come out even more passionate, right?
Thank you. Yes, it does.
So I think I like that, right? And I think you're doing an overall journey, but overall, how can I say it? It's more of an overall image of yourself being iconic for people that know that they can actually depend on you in a good way, right? For humanity.
And I'm very religious, so to me, it's all a big plan. Like God put me on these wonderful projects in addition to working on these real big ones in the city I talked about.
Sure.
I worked in all the neighborhoods that are suffering from the gun violence epidemic. So I saw that on my sites every day, depending on where I was. And God put me there to feel that and to see that and to give me the energy and drive to do everything I can to call attention to it through the art itself, and also through funds that we generate from the art. So it's very heavy stuff that you're dealing with, watching kids suffer and watching this gun violence, but I have a lot of joy because we want to change it. And that's the whole movie is about joy, even though it feels heavy sometimes.
Yes, sir.
It's all about joy and love for humanity and wanting to give the next generation a life so that their kids don't have to experience this. And Mentoring is a huge thing. You know, we need to have a mass mentoring effort, get into every neighborhood where these kids are in need.
Yep.
Because families can't always be there, you know, for the kids. It's
Sure.
just how family dynamics go sometimes. So
Yeah.
we have to do a mass mentoring effort, not just to be there to help kids through trials and tribulations that they're going through, which are excessive,
Sure.
but also to be a pipeline for a job.
Thank
That's
you.
the best part of being a mentor, because you get your first job usually from somebody that knows you and gives you a
Yes.
chance. So
Yes.
that's why we need a flood of mentors in all these areas
Yes.
to give them a pipeline to work.
Yes.
Because I feel that if everyone's given an opportunity to prove themselves,
Yes.
anybody can be successful, whatever they choose.
Let's go.
And that can change somebody's life from having to make money in a non-legitimate way versus making it in the legitimate way, a legal way. And we need to help. We need to facilitate that through massive efforts. And it takes a lot of money, and that's
Yeah.
why we want to raise a ton of money with the movie.
Yeah.
Because it takes a massive amount of money to implement these things.
That is
we're
correct.
talking about. Yeah.
But I think for you, humanity is of course the way to go, because when you give back,
yeah.
you're giving back credit of people understanding positive credit of saying we can help you.
Right.
The youth.
Yes,
of course,
absolutely.
Right? Youth. But you know what also affects is if they have parents or legal guardians,
Yeah.
it affects them too.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is that you're becoming a stress reliever from someone to say, thank God we
Yeah.
have someone to be able to help my son or my daughter
Right.
or my kids to be able to get onto that right track, to be able to help them.
Right.
I think the one coolest thing about when a kid actually starts a job is getting his first check
Yes. It's amazing.
and knowing
yeah.
how to cash it and going
Yeah.
to the bank and opening up a savings or a checking account.
Yeah.
But I think it's a trickle down in regards to what you're doing to be able to help them say, hey, we can help you.
Right.
You got to want to be able to, you have to have a mentor to be able to help you get there.
It's important, and it's funny, you know, talking about my granddad and everything that he overcame and led such a wonderful life.
Yeah.
You know, he was living proof, and in some ways I'm living proof too, because as you mentioned, I lived on a wood floor like this,
Yeah.
you know, for a year, just because the money was so low, but I was still really joyous knowing that there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yes,
and
sir.
I was doing something that I loved.
Yeah.
And when I came back, actually, to try to get back in engineering after I was gone for a few years, I was kind of looked at as like a pariah. Here's an artist. Well, he was an engineer, but he left us. He kind of abandoned us. And nobody was taking me seriously, that I needed to come back and start making money to pursue my dream on the side.
Yes, sir.
So I was at the city of Chicago, and I knew they had a lot of work on the street, and I went for a job, and they said, we don't have anything for you. And I said, I can't accept that. I know there's so much work here, and I just want to work. I'm totally broke. And I said, I will stay here and work for free for as many days as you want me to, but I can't leave because I need to work. I have to work.
Yeah.
It's just who I am. And that worked.
Nice.
The person I was talking to went to the head corner office and said, this kid won't leave. He said he's going to work for free until we hire him. So I know what it's like to be struggling
Sure.
too.
Yes, sir.
And it's not the same when you're struggling, you know, in a neighborhood that's plagued by gun violence. It's not that level of struggle, but
Yeah.
I still was clawing to have, you know, sustenance like all of us want. So I think I understand what it's like when people aren't taking you seriously or aren't giving you an opportunity.
I like
I've been
that.
through that, which a
Yeah.
lot of us have been.
I like what you
Yeah.
said before we take a quick commercial break, but I have to say that struggling comes in different forms,
Yeah.
different areas. It's not all the same.
Right.
You have people that's homeless that's living downtown,
Right.
or finding a place to stay downtown,
Yeah.
right? And also you have, of course, in that area where you do have gun violence, where there's a different other type of homeless that's there.
Absolutely,
Mentality
yeah.
homeless, because
Yeah.
no one's there to save them,
Right.
right? But that's the only thing that they're used to.
Right.
So, and I look at it as far as there's that poverty in their head is this is the only way I'm able to survive, by taking from others,
Yeah.
or taking people's lives, or having having a way of saying, this is my territory.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm going to build my own community. So don't
Right.
cross that line.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you do have where there is the homeless,
Yeah.
where they actually are, hey, I can only go to shelter so many times a week, but I have to be able to sleep and be able to ask people for money, because people, of course, think that it's begging, but they're asking for money, and hopefully that they're using it to what their mentality is hopefully not used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that, because the struggle is in different areas when you're trying to succeed.
Yes.
And then your motivation is there. So everybody, we are here with none other than my man, Jared Kirchheimer, the filmmaker. And you already know he's the owner of Say Her, Say You. Film LLC, baby. I can't get that out of my head. All right, everybody, we'll be back in 30 seconds. And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is your boy Rico No Suave here with none other than my man Jared Kirchheimer. I love his last name. And filmmaker, and you already know the owner of Say Her Film LLC. I want to say Her, Say You. So that song is gonna be in my head. It's just a ring. It's a ring.
Song.
It is a great song, man. Great song. So let's move forward, because we understand, as far as for you, where you're at with knowing where you struggle and knowing where you actually where your heart is at for the human.
Right.
The human society.
Yeah.
When it comes in as an actor, becomes a writer. Of course, that all comes into play of who you are when it comes to a film that you are building right now.
Right.
Writing and being an actor, two different things.
Yes.
What was your first love? Was it the acting piece or was it writing?
So, acting was my first love, but you learn from the best. You learn from Sylvester Stallone, who had to write Rocky to get his foot in the door. You learn from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who had to write Good Will Hunting.
Yes,
you learn
sir.
from everybody like them. So pretty early on, when you're not getting the work that you want and you need to get bitty, the creative juices just start flowing, and you just start writing. And
Yes.
I have one feature I still haven't made to this day, and I rewrote it like 100 times.
Okay.
And writing is hard. But acting is my first love. Ironically, I didn't plan to cast myself in Say Her.
Okay.
There was another film that I was working on in New York that collapsed at the last minute. It was in a similar genre.
Okay.
And I offered the role to the actor that was supposed to play the lead there, because I wanted to give him an opportunity. I felt bad for him that it fell apart. I was just a producer on that one.
Sure.
But he didn't want it, so I rewrote it for an older guy so that I could play it. And it was meant to be that way, because the story just unfolded so wonderfully, and I had such a great time performing. And performing I had to work so hard. It was harder than the writing, it was harder than the producing, it was harder than getting the permits and all the other stuff. Yeah. I had worked a ton of hours just preparing, because it just meant so much to me, the story, and I wanted to be authentic with it. But acting was my first love.
The first love.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. I like that. When it comes to first loves, sometimes you have to give one love away and have the time for the other love,
true.
when it comes to it.
Yeah.
So, of course, writing is something that, a lot of people may have some writer's block,
Yes,
when it
yes.
comes to thinking in regards to say, no, let me get a trash can. You know how they do in the movies. They throw it to the trash can. Okay, let's try it again. We start writing. And with the film itself of Say Her, How did you come up with that name?
So I came up with it. There's a few different reasons. So the place we shot at is this amazing, legendary icon of a weightlifting gym called Sayre Park Weightlifting Club. It's produced some of the best Team USA Olympians in our history years ago in the 80s and 90s and a little bit of the 2000s. And so say her is a little bit of play on that word, but the main thing is right now we have one of the best men's and women's teams we've had in the history of the sport for us. And going toward the Los Angeles Olympics, we could very well be one of the best teams in the world. It's a really exciting time for this niche sport that not too many people know about. CrossFit kind of helped it get out there a little bit. But these athletes are so tremendous. Both our men's and women's teams are tremendous. But we have a world champion woman right now. Her name is Olivia Reeves. She just won gold, and she's the world champion in 2024. She won gold at Paris. And that's the first time an American lifter has held those titles in 66 years. So I wanted to send a shout out to the women's weightlifting teams. That's why I say her is that way. And then there's a young girl in the film who my character Clay ends up mentoring and living his dream through her. And that's it's kind of shining a light on her, shining a light on our Olympic team right now. And also, in addition to our young actress, Violet Sue, who's a Chicago actress, she did a wonderful job. Becca Morello plays a wonderful character called Mo in the film. And she's just a strong female force of the movie and brings so much love to it. So it's honoring both female characters in the movie. That's where the name came from.
Nice.
They helped deliver my character Clay to his promised land, which you could not have got there to without them.
Oh wow, that is awesome, man. That is awesome. That is so cool. I mean, because Olympics. I watch Olympics sometimes, but I just love. I understand, and we kind of talk about. I wouldn't say the struggle, but I understand the focus of being able to prepare yourself for the next Olympics, right? And there's different competitions that you go through to prepare yourself mentally for the bigger picture, right? How often, as a weightlifter, man, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to be able to learn when it comes to, and we mentioned CrossFit, there's a lot that you have to be able to train yourself from nutrition, mentality, and also the strength, as far as the strength itself and how much you can go for one person's body,
Yes, absolutely.
So what was that kind of like, because it was learning phase, what was that learning phase for you of understanding the whole weightlifting thing?
It's great. So I had a little taste of it as a kid because I trained briefly at Sayre Park under the U.S. Olympic coach at the time, who was Roger Nielsen, who's an amazing guy. He was an FBI agent, and he was the head Team USA coach at the time. And just a tremendous mentor for me. And I wasn't there long, but I got to learn so much about the sport from him and the Olympians that were there. And it's such a niche sport. It's so difficult. It takes 10 years just to get the technique down. 10 years of 2-a-day training, 6 days a week, a lot of times. And what's so interesting about it is it's like ballet with 500 pounds attached to you, because that's the movements are timing and coordination. And that ballet was coined by the greatest of all time, Piros Dimas, who actually has a cameo in our film.
Oh, in your film? Oh,
and he's the current head coach. But he coined that phrase. It's like ballet with 500 pounds attached to it. It's very intricate, and nobody knows about it, but I'm excited now with the great performance that we had in Paris and LA coming up in 2028. People are really going to know more about the sport and see everybody. They're doing just great. It's such a great community, loving, supportive community, in addition to being extremely gifted athletes.
Let's go. Let's go, man.
It's so fun to have that on screen.
And, when it comes down to how athletes come into acting, it's a different mentality of knowing that, hey, I'm going to try and do something that I love to do, but I have to act this out.
Yes.
How was that transition? Because as an athlete, if they never had acting experience,
Yeah.
or if they had a little bit of acting experience, how did you direct them to be able to be themselves in the film itself?
That's a great question. So for me, like the character I played, I needed him. The acting was more important.
Sure.
The lifting had to look genuine, which I was able, fortunately, to make it look that way because of some experience that I had. But like Violet, our young lifter who came in, and I was able to mentor in the story, she was a natural athlete at it, actually. So she picked it up pretty good. But it's a good question. I think for other athletes trying to break into sport, trying to break away from sport and get into acting, there's cool, like you have the drive and the intensity that you can adapt, but it takes some time.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes some time.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it does, and I think that is kind of where some people focus may be as an athlete. It's like rappers that try to come in and start being an actor as well too, when they want to get into the acting business.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just hard. It's not easy,
Yeah.
but it takes some time to be able to have, or sometimes it can be natural, right?
Sometimes it can be
It
natural.
can be
yeah.
natural, right?
Yeah.
And it's just who they are.
No, absolutely, yeah.
So
There's a lot of great athletes that are wonderful actors.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We're going to actually show the trailer. We got to show the trailer, man. I'm so ready to actually show the trailer right now. Everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Hey, this is the trailer of Say Her. I want you guys to enjoy yourself. Here we go.
Oh, a champ comes hard, beat blood and gold, and that is why he stands alone. Oh, he stands alone.
You are all my safety, all my power, all my strength, all my technique, all my speed. I have my own self, do nothing, everything I do to the glory of God. Duh!
Without Fred, I'd be in jail or dead. A lot of my friends went those routes. Fred always taught me, whenever an evil thought would come to me, tackle it. Whether it's one thought, 10 thoughts, 100 thoughts, 1,000 thoughts. Refuse to be blocked. Refuse to be blocked, and you'll get the job done. See, Fred was a Chiefs fan. He stole that phrase from Marty Schottenheimer. I never had the heart to tell him I knew. If we can teach every kid that phrase, we change the world.
That was awesome. Great job, Abby. You're a natural.
Got big plans for you, Cheetah. Are you ready?
Ready, Fred?
Thank you. Love you. Trust you. Praise you.
Yeah,
Thank
let's
you
go,
for showing that.
man.
Thank you,
Hey,
man.
give me this right
Thank
here.
you, man.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, the one thing that I love, and I kind of talked to you about this as well, about independent films.
Yeah.
This has that great independent film that needs to make the big screen.
Thank you.
Right? This is not just a short film. This is one of those
Right.
feature films that you can definitely tell there's a lot of creativity, but a lot of work that you put in this, with big shout out to the crew and the staff as well too.
It's such a great job.
And
yeah.
the setup is awesome. The old school gym
Yes.
is what I admire. I love vintage stuff.
Yeah.
You picked the right place at the right time.
It's a character in itself.
Yes.
And you got to talk about the crew. So
Let's go.
And I'm so grateful to you, for being here, because for independent film, you need to build the buzz, and we need partners and family members to help us do that. So
Yes,
you're
sir.
family to us. So
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yes.
And I just wanted to mention this wonderful surprise has happened. So we got interviewed by Paul Lisnick at WGN.
Let's go.
And he, out of the blue, just stated that he felt that Mike, who was our DP and editor, that the work that he did on the film was worthy of an Academy Award. And I know how good Mike is, but to hear that from someone who's been watching, films for 30 years and reviewing Broadway plays and movies, it was such a treasure, to hear that. And Mike deserves every inch of that.
Big shout out to Mike.
But,
yes.
We're just so blessed. And, Rico, this movie came together. I was telling you, I wrote another movie that hasn't been made 100 times. I had to rewrite it. This one came from God.
Let's go.
It flowed so smoothly.
Yes, sir.
I got this incredible crew of people that
Big
were
shout out
so
to the
brilliant.
crew.
And
Yes.
everybody did everything. Lauren, who was our makeup artist, Lauren Litwin, she was doing the lighting. She was operating a camera because on a small crew with no budget.
Yeah.
And you have to do that. Becca Morello, our actress, did the same thing.
Yeah.
Sarah Sue, who's actually Violet's mom in real life.
Okay.
She had a cameo as her mom
All right.
in the movie. She was a PA and did a lot of lighting and camera stuff. So we all came together. It was one, big family. And Randy DeBoer, who's the other actor, he plays the older gentleman, Fred, in the movie.
Okay.
He's actually a retired civil engineer. I work with him.
All right.
And
nice.
he just always had the most outgoing personality. Everybody would just stop and watch him and listen to him when he told a story.
Yes, sir.
So I had to cast him.
Okay.
And he didn't believe me that I was planning to cast him in a movie, but he jumped right in, and he's actually everybody's favorite.
All right.
Yeah, he did such a great job. Yeah.
Civil engineering plays a big part in regards to you guys' lives, and we as artists or entertainers as well too. We feel like since you broke that down to us, we feel like we're part of your family, of a community, to be able to help each other.
Absolutely,
right? Civil engineering, but you guys are the foundation. You guys
Thank
are the
you.
ones that help us keep it going as far as anything that we actually need, and civil engineering does not get enough recognition where you guys should, because this is everyday life. This is what keeps us going.
And there's a lot of people, especially the government employees, whose salary gets capped. Like
Yeah.
I worked as a consultant, so I could work overtime and try to make as much money as I can.
Yep.
But a lot of times the government agencies aren't have that, and these people are working so many hours on their own time, and they're so dedicated. They're most amazing public servants. They really care about humanity so much, and they dedicate their lives. So I want to give a shout to them. And without places like the Illinois Department of Transportation and Chicago Department of Transportation and the company I work for, Tecma Associates, I have no movie because they gave me the income to be able to make it. So I owe my life.
Blessings to them. Yes, blessings to them. And, this goes into part of a key element, right?
Yeah.
Well, and one of the key elements that, that you kind of mentioned before was the crew and the staff, but also we talk about mental health.
Yeah.
In this film itself, we talk about, you talk about mental health to the audience that's going to be watching this.
Right, absolutely.
Right? The focus and how to stay focused, the breakdown of, can I do it? I cannot do it. Some days we want to work out. Some days we just want to eat cheeseburgers. Right? And then we just we can't stay focused. But for the greater good, we have the surroundings.
Yeah.
The people that surround us.
Right.
Identifying mental health definitely shows a play in this. You incorporated that. What was your mentality when you were writing this, and also when you were acting this? What was your mentality like with the whole film itself?
That's a great question. And the cool thing is we hit mental health from a lot of different angles in this movie. We, of course, hit it from a struggling athlete who's way past his prime, that wasn't able to live his dream. For Clay, who I play, it was to get to the Olympic Games. The main reason he wanted to get to the Games was so that he could be a beacon of light for kids that grew up like him with a very tough upbringing.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into the story, but he had a very, because there's some spoilers, but he had a very tough childhood. Very tough childhood, and he wanted to be a mentor for these children that grew up like him, to show them that they can be successful even though they went through hell and back 1,000 times. So that type of mental health issue is addressed there. And then also the mental health of, being an athlete. There's two separate avenues we took there. But the mentality for the film, I really carried the weight of these neighborhoods in our city that are struggling and plagued so much with gun violence.
Yeah.
I carried the weight of all the kids growing up at Mercy Home for boys and girls that are there for a lot of different reasons. You know, sometimes mom and dad just don't have the finances to take care of them. Sometimes one of them is in jail, or both is in jail, or one's passed away. I had a heart for the kids, and it's just so important to shine a light on their plight. Both kids suffering in neighborhoods affected by gun violence and kids growing up at a place like Mercy Home where they came from a rough background.
Sure.
I just want to shine a light on their plight so that we can, as a society, do whatever we can financially and physically as mentors and tutors and however we want to take part.
Yeah.
Just bombard them with the love that they need to have a successful life. And back to the film, Fred, who plays my mentor in the movie, without him, Clay, the character I play, would have no life. He's been in my life since I was a young kid.
Okay.
And he stuck by me through thick and thin, and through him and Becca Morello, who plays Mo, I'm able to fulfill my destiny and mentoring this young girl
Nice.
to her destiny. So, yeah, we hit mental health from a few different angles.
Yeah.
And it's just so important because I wanted people, without saying too much,
Yep.
I wanted them to understand why someone growing up in an area with gun violence has mental health issues in the first place, because no human being should have to see that kind of carnage.
Yep.
And you alternate from depression to anger that you want to go end the life of somebody who maybe ended the life of your family, and it never ends.
Yes.
You know, it's
yes.
and working in those neighborhoods as an engineer, I was able to feel those emotions, even though it didn't happen to my family. It happened to my human family when I saw someone gunned down. So I wanted the audience, through the movie, to understand why someone may go to jail or may be dead because they acted on something that they couldn't help because they saw so much tragedy. So it's our job as a society to remove that so no one has to see that anymore. And it's going to take a ton of money and a ton of resources of people to do it. But I want to be positive and joyful and hopeful that we can do it together as a family, and so the next generation doesn't have to deal with all this stuff.
And I think that's why we have platforms to be able to help people like yourself, to be able to help people like them. Right. And when we say like them, we're talking about the people that need that help.
Yeah.
Now, when I talk about also, and I know we focused on the youth, this is also with the parents.
It is.
The parents also, to be held accountable now, or the parents that is in the kid's life, is how they were disciplined themselves as parents.
Yeah.
Because that trickled down as far as to the kids. Because remember, when you were little, you would say the same thing your parents would say, right? Just to mimic it back, right?
Yeah,
and then you see something as far as their actions. Oh, if my parents can do it, I can do it as well too. If you were growing up in that atmosphere, you have two groups to tackle. The teens, as well as the parents that's held accountable for this.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like that group session of AA, of where, hey, we need to bring you all together because you guys are not going to be able to survive the way you're doing it right now and affecting other families too.
It's a wonderful point. In fact, I've talked in other interviews about us generating mercy homes for the entire family.
Yes.
That the whole family gets to relocate to a development where they can work together and be given opportunities that nobody gave them before. We have to show the love that way.
Yes.
But this stuff, it costs a lot of money. But I always say that there should be global think tanks related to this, because if we fix this, we make civilization so much better. We make it what it can be.
Yes, sir.
But it takes a lot of work and planning to get it done. But we're just so happy to be shining a light on this stuff and really wanting to make people understand how these things are happening, because the level of violence that people are growing up with, no human being should have to endure that.
Yes. And not the innocent ones too.
Absolutely.
The innocent ones that might get hit by a stray bullet, or they might get, they just might be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's basically the mentality of when you have a gun or these kids have, they think they're powerful.
Yeah.
Right? I remember back in the day, we used to fist fight.
Yeah.
Right? And once the fight was over, you go your way, you're still alive, and everything is good. And you know I will never do that again.
Yeah.
Now we don't have that because it's just there's too much power that they're feeling in that, and think that that's the way to be able to live until they're behind bars. Yeah. Right? And justice is being served. But the one thing I want to say, because we did hit a lot of the key elements, and I was happy that I did. Because this is, but one key element that I do want to go over is the proceeds of this film.
Yeah. Right.
So 50% of the proceeds is going to a good cause.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so 50% of my personal earnings from the movie will go to Chicago Cred, which is run by Arnie Duncan, who is the Secretary of Education under Obama. They're doing incredible work, you know, reducing gun violence in a lot of the critical areas. But the more money they get, the more areas they can hit. And I actually went to a Chicago Cred event in the Pullman area. And one important thing, there's a lot of different groups that are sister and brother groups working with Chicago Cred. And one thing they talk about is the importance of having funds available to, when people are coming out of prison, they need a way to make money so that they don't have to go back to making money illegally. And that's why finances are so important. That's why we want to give, you know, proceeds to an agency like Cred and these sister agencies also, to have a pool so that someone can get their start. And they're doing it through grants, and they're giving them business opportunities, but money is a big part of the factor. Everybody needs to take care of their family.
That's true.
So we got to speak out loud about that stuff. And then Mercy Home is the other agency we're giving funds to. I've been involved with them.
Mercy Home.
They're great. I was a tutor there for years and years and years, and that's how I got the ideas for all these movies based on all the cool stuff they're doing. And we're just super excited to be able to share the profits of the film.
Big shout out to Mercy Home and Chicago Cred.
Yes.
Let's go. I got something for you, right? I got something for you, and it's a gift.
Thank you.
Right? It's a gift. So one of the things that we love to give is shirts, right? But part of it is why we give it out, right? Being a gem of the world is very important to us. You are a gem of the world, civil engineering, 30 years, but also the struggle of your passion, of where you had to go to be able to come back home to. And to be able to understand where you were actually going to make that transition happen. When you came here, you found the right pieces, you found your heart, you know what you love to do, and all of that great karma comes back to you in a positive way. So this right here is, you're saying her, but we're saying you.
Thank you.
Right? We're saying you, because you are the one that's actually putting everybody on the screen for other people to watch the screen, for them to be able to have the message that you want to tell to everyone. So congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you so much, man.
Welcome to the team. No, you're good.
No, and again, thanks for all the joy that you're bringing with your work. It's so needed.
Let's go. Let's go, man. Hey, I appreciate you being on the show, but we got to let everybody know your social media, man.
Thanks.
We got
Yeah, it'd be so great if everybody could follow Say Her Film.
Yes.
SayherFilm on Instagram.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
just every follower is cool, because we got Sony Pictures Classic saw the movie, and they're watching us to make sure we grow our social media following. And also get on these wonderful press junkets, which we're able to do thanks to Rico tonight. Yeah, every follow means a lot. We'd be so thankful, everyone.
Yeah, so make sure you guys go ahead and follow him and the crew at Say Her Film. And man, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was a great night,
man.
Rico. Thank you.
Man.
Thanks.
I had a blast with you.
It was wonderful.
We're definitely going to have you back on the show, right? Because we want to see exactly where, we're going to keep in contact, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to have you on later to see how everything is going. We're going to catch up with you, right?
You.
Hopefully we'll see that you have another film coming out as well, too. But we don't say anything right now, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited to come back when it's all said and done, just to say thank you to everyone, because you don't know how much it means to us.
Yes, sir.
To be here talking to you.
Man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody put your hands together for none other than my man, Jared Kirchheimer. sir. Yes. All right, everybody. We got to get out of here. We want to thank you guys so much for actually being on the show, the Rico No Suave Show. And just as we have talked about here, the mentality, the focus, the patience, and also humanity. That's what it's all about, everyone. And we're here to make this world better in a positive way. We go through ups, we go through downs, but we have people to surround us to try to keep us level. We're going to put up our social media real quick, everybody. We got a few of them that, of course, that we want to go through. And that's our website, www.thericonosuaveshow.com. Make sure you go and follow us there. You already know that's what we love to do. Here's our next one, everybody. It is, yes, Rico No Suave Show on Instagram. Right, on Instagram, everybody. Make sure you go and follow us. Make sure you follow everything about us. And then let's go to the next one. Yes, you know, Facebook, Rico No Suave Show. Like and love everything we're doing. Last but not least, let's see what we got here. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, everybody. Rico No Suave Show. This is where we're at. Everybody, once again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for everything you have done for us, because we are only doing something great for you. It's keeping you smiling and happy. Everybody, we'll see you next time as we end off the show just like this.